When most people picture Indian tourism, they imagine the sun-baked deserts of Rajasthan or the southern backwaters of Kerala. But travel to the country's easternmost edge, and the landscape fractures into plunging, mist-covered ravines like the Dree Valley. This map shows the geographical anomaly that physically severs this region from the rest of the country. To get to the northeast, you have to pass through the Siliguri Corridor, a strip of land just 22 kilometers wide, often called the Chicken's Neck. Notice how almost the entire perimeter of these 8 states borders other countries, with China to the north, Myanmar to the east, and Bangladesh and Bhutan boxing it in. The region is practically marooned from the rest of India. That physical disconnect created a massive informational vacuum for decades. Because of this extreme isolation, mainlanders often look across that narrow corridor and imagine a single monolithic frontier, a dense, intimidating jungle. In reality, they are looking at one of the most geographically and culturally diverse territories on Earth. The gateway to this diversity is Assam, dominated by the massive Brahmaputra River. The river basin acts as a fertile engine, feeding sprawling tea estates and sustaining rare wildlife, like the one-horned rhinoceros, perfectly adapted to these deep, marshy grasslands. But the water that generates this economic bounty is untamed. Every summer, the monsoons swell the Brahmaputra far beyond its banks. The resulting floods routinely submerge entire villages, swallowing homes up to their roofs and washing away roads. The sheer volume of water makes it nearly impossible to maintain permanent, mainland-style infrastructure. Instead of trying to conquer the geography with concrete, the communities living along the basin have engineered their lives around the water's unpredictable rhythm, rebuilding and migrating as the river dictates. Move away from the river valleys and up into the highlands of Arunachal Pradesh and Meghalaya, and the terrain turns violently vertical. The mountains here are steep, heavily forested, and historically almost impossible to traverse. Cut off from the outside world, the communities living on these peaks built highly specialized societies. Monasteries and fortified villages were constructed directly into the dark, unforgiving rock faces, operating as self-sustaining enclaves. This vertical shielding acted as a cultural incubator. Without outside interference, hundreds of distinct Austroasiatic and Sino-Tibetan ethnic groups evolved side by side. You can walk from one valley to the next and encounter entirely different languages, customs, and belief systems. The region is effectively a mosaic of distinct micronations. Their geographic isolation gave them the power to protect their ancient heritage without having to compromise with the rest of the subcontinent. When the modern Indian state formed, drawing hard borders across these ancient territories caused immediate friction. The decades that followed saw dozens of armed insurgencies as individual tribes fought to maintain their autonomy against a centralized government. Today, those national borders remain highly porous. Local tribal ties frequently span across the markers separating India from Myanmar or Bangladesh, creating a daily reality where communities casually trade and travel through deeply militarized zones. For the central government, thousands of miles away in New Delhi, attempting to police and develop this fractured, hostile terrain is a logistical nightmare. This dynamic has bred a sharp psychological duality. Many locals rely on federal resources for survival, yet they feel historically neglected and culturally distinct from the mainlanders writing the policies. Recently, that historical distance has started to collapse. Heavy machinery is now boring directly through the pristine bedrock, aggressively paving a path into the highlands. Look at this chart tracking federal investment in the region. After decades of stagnant baseline funding, the capital expenditure suddenly spikes exponentially in recent years. That money is rapidly carving out thousands of miles of new highways, railways, and airports. The mountains are finally being bridged. For the first time in history, true physical integration with the rest of India is becoming a reality. But this rapid connection carries a heavy cost. There is growing local anxiety that laying new asphalt will invite mass tourism, leading to the severe environmental degradation already seen in other Himalayan states. There is also a deeper cultural threat. As external businesses and mainland influences flood the valleys, the fierce tribal traditions that survived centuries of isolation risk being diluted into a generic national identity. The physical barriers protecting the Northeast are falling. Now, the challenge for India is ensuring that in its rush to connect with this diverse frontier, it doesn't pave over the exact qualities that make it unique.